How do you beat a seven-time world champion? With a broken car? How do you explain Charles Leclerc in a Ferrari missing part of its front wing, overtaking and outpacing Lewis Hamilton for most of the Chinese Grand Prix? This wasn't a midfield scrap. This wasn't a lucky strategy call. This was real, raw pace from a damaged machine against one of the greatest drivers of all time. And here's the craziest part. Leclerc wasn't even happy with how the car felt. What happened in Shanghai is more than just a stat line. It was a window into the technical tightrope every driver walks. It exposed weaknesses, elevated strengths, and may have quietly shifted Ferrari's internal power balance. Between the superstar signing and the man who's been carrying the team for years, we're going deep, from setup drama to strategy risks, from driver psychology to long-term implications inside Maranello. Let's break it down. The contact between Leclerc and Hamilton looked minor. Two Ferraris brushing wheels in the long, flowing turn two. No damage, not quite. Leclerc's left front end plate was completely torn off. That might not sound like much, but in modern F1, it can mean a loss of up to 30 points of downforce. A massive penalty. Any other team might have reacted conservatively, pitted early, switched the nose, recovered what they could. But not Ferrari. They looked at the data, they saw the pace, and they made a call that only works when you fully trust your driver. Leave the wing, don't touch it, keep him out, because a front wing change would cost 5 seconds and drop Leclerc behind Verstappen. And Ferrari knew the car didn't have the straight line speed to recover that track position. So Leclerc drove on, damaged, uncomfortable, but still quick. But how could he be that fast in a compromised car? Why wasn't Hamilton, with a clean Ferrari, pulling away? The answer lies in what happened the night before. After Hamilton's dominant sprint win, the hype was real. People thought he'd found something special. But behind the scenes, both sides of the Ferrari garage were searching for that extra tenth, and they went in different directions. Leclerc's engineers made targeted changes. He liked the balance, the feel, and the consistency. It worked. Hamilton took a bigger swing, and it backfired. He was 3/10 off pole in qualifying. In the race, he fought the car in every corner. Oversteer, braking instability, inconsistent grip. Every lap looked like a struggle. Hamilton later admitted, "We tried to improve the car and made it worse." What's fascinating is that both drivers were experimenting with a concept Leclerc first tested in Bahrain. The difference? Leclerc had experience with it and made it work. Hamilton didn't. This wasn't about speed, it was about adaptation. But Leclerc wasn't just faster than Hamilton. He believes, damage and all, that he could have fought the McLarens. You don't often hear frustration in Leclerc's voice after beating Hamilton, but in China it was there, because he genuinely believed he had the pace to challenge Norris and Piastri if the wing had been changed. His tire management was strong. His confidence was high. He said it himself, "There was more potential, and I couldn't use it." So did Ferrari miss an opportunity by playing it safe? Track position was their priority, but maybe, just maybe, they cost themselves a chance to disrupt the McLaren 1-2. Still, even with the damage, Leclerc held off Hamilton, who had fresher tires and no damage. That says a lot, but while the race pace is encouraging, there's one part of Ferrari's weekend that continues to hold them back, and Leclerc knows it. What's the use of strong race pace if you're always starting behind the leaders? Leclerc was blunt. If we don't improve short-run pace, we won't win races. Ferrari has a Sunday car, but Saturdays are still their weakness. McLaren, Red Bull, even Mercedes are better over one lap. And if Leclerc and Hamilton are starting 5th or 6th every race, they'll always be reacting, never controlling. Qualifying isn't just about grid spots, it's about strategy freedom, clean air, race management. Until Ferrari fixes this, they'll always be limited, no matter how good the long-run pace looks. And speaking of limits, is Ferrari beginning to see a new leader emerging? When Lewis Hamilton signed with Ferrari, the expectation was clear. He would lead, he would elevate, he would take control. But in Shanghai, Leclerc proved something important. He didn't just outpace Hamilton, he did it while managing damage, adapting his driving style, and executing a flawless race under pressure. Meanwhile, Hamilton is still learning the team, the systems, the car. He'll improve. But right now, Leclerc looks like the driver Ferrari is leaning on. He's faster, he's calmer, he's been here before. And after China, the internal momentum is firmly on his side. So is this just a temporary dip for Hamilton? Or is Leclerc re-establishing himself as the undisputed number one? Charles Leclerc didn't win the Chinese Grand Prix, but what he did win was respect, leverage, and maybe, quietly, the upper hand inside Ferrari. Let's not underestimate the significance of what we witnessed. He went wheel to wheel with Lewis Hamilton on lap 1, lost a piece of his front wing, and still drove a race strong enough that Ferrari had to tell Hamilton, a 7-time world champion, to move over. And it wasn't a lucky result. It wasn't strategy. It was pace, execution, control. Leclerc delivered under pressure in a compromised car with one of the most competitive midfields breathing down his neck. That's what team leaders do. But what makes this even more fascinating is how early in the season this is happening. Hamilton is still settling in. He's still learning the team, adjusting to a new driving environment. And yet already Leclerc is reminding everyone that he's not just the guy who's been there longer, he's the guy who belongs there. Let's not forget, this is the same Charles Leclerc who's faced years of car underperformance, strategic blunders, and missed opportunities. He's made mistakes, yes, but he's grown. And now when Ferrari finally looks close to competitive again, he's the one getting the job done. This raises a bigger question, not just about Ferrari, but about the nature of intra-team rivalries in F1 today. Because we've seen it before. Teammates start equal, mutual respect, shared goals. But then one starts to outpace the other. One becomes the reference, and suddenly the balance shifts, sometimes quietly, sometimes violently. We saw it with Vettel and Leclerc in 2019, with Rosberg and Hamilton in 2016, even Verstappen and Ricciardo when things started tipping toward Max. Right now, Ferrari is entering that exact phase, where equal footing turns into internal tension. Subtle at first, but undeniable over time. What makes this so compelling is that it's happening in the middle of a broader F1 power shift. Red Bull isn't dominant anymore. McLaren is surging, Mercedes is inconsistent, and Ferrari, caught in the middle searching for that final step. But to take that step, they need clarity, consistency, and leadership. If Leclerc continues delivering like this, adapting better, racing smarter, and outqualifying Hamilton, he's going to make Ferrari's internal decision for them. And Hamilton, he won't just accept that, he'll respond. He always does. Which brings us to the heart of it. This might not be the season where Ferrari wins the championship, but it could be the season where the team decides who they're going to back when they do. And that makes every race between these two, every qualifying session, every strategy call, every small clash on track, incredibly important. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Is Leclerc quietly reasserting himself as Ferrari's leader? Or is this just a short-term advantage while Hamilton finds his rhythm? Should Ferrari have taken the risk and changed Leclerc's front wing, maybe costing him a shot at the podium, but preserving the long-term relationship between both drivers? And can these two coexist for a full season? With the championship pressure rising, the headlines intensifying, and both of them desperate to prove they're the one who deserves to carry Ferrari forward? Let us know in the comments. This is why we love Formula One. Not just for the results, but for the human drama behind every lap. And if you're here for that, for the stories behind the strategy, the dynamics behind the data, this is the place to be. Hit like, subscribe to Paddock Insider, and turn on notifications. Because this isn't just a season, it's a statement year for Ferrari, and we're just getting started.